Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast. And today I'm going to go my review of AEW's Dynamite Fright Night. Starting off the night, we have Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy comes out the ring, tells everybody to stop the music. Video package was played showing the Blackpool Combat Club beating up Chuck Taylor. Orange talks about the attack on Chuck that happened last week. Orange says that last week he was surrounded by the future of AEW. Orange says that Moxley doesn't need AEW, but he does. Orange also challenges Moxley for the AEW title. And Orange says that he will be the next AEW World Champion. Moving on from that, we go into our first official match of the night. It is Adam Cole making his return to AEW Dynamite since his injury versus Buddy Matthews. I thought it was a good match, man. Back and forth matchup between Cole and Matthews, with Matthews keeping the pace of the match. Matthews hits a superplex on Cole, but Cole gets up, hits a neck breaker on Matthews. Matthews and Cole both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Cole hitting a heat seeker for a near fall. Matthews then was working on the injured ankle of Cole. Doctors then are checking on Adam Cole's ankle. Doctors then take Cole. We're going to take Cole to the back. Matthews grabs a microphone. He mocks Cole. Cole then gets back in the ring, hits a super kick on Matthews. Matthews then hits a foot stomp for a near fall. Cole hits a running knee for a near fall as well. Matthews then counters a Panama Sunrise from Cole, and Matthews hits a foot stomp as well. Cole then hits a Panama Sunrise. Cole hits another Panama Sunrise to the outside, and then Cole hits a running knee on Matthews, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match is Adam Cole. After the match, Cole grabs a microphone. Cole thanks Buddy Matthews for reminding him who he is. The lights go out. Lights come back on, and it's Malachi Black. Malachi Black is there. And Malachi shakes Cole's hand. Looks like Malachi Black will be Adam Cole's next opponent. Moving on from that, we have Kyle Fletcher and Don Callis. They're standing on the stage. Kyle calls out Ospreay, and then he mocks Ospreay for not showing up. Then all of a sudden, United Empire music plays, and it's Mark Davis. Mark Davis shows up after being away from AEW with a lengthy injury. Mark then mocks Kyle Fletcher. Fletcher then praises Don Callis and says that Don Callis has made him a better wrestler and a better man. Fletcher says that Ospreay has forgotten who they are. So it looks like there's some unfinished business there between Fletcher and Ospreay, and it's going to be very interesting to see how Mark Davis is going to fit into the fold with Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay. Moving on from that, we have a backstage segment with Adam Page being interviewed by Renee Paquette. Adam Page says that it'll be him versus Jay White at Full Gear. He also talks about Jay White. And Adam says that he will leave Jay White behind. Moving on from that, we have a Jon Moxley segment. Jon Moxley comes out to the ring with the Blackpool Combat Club. Moxley talks about Orange Cassidy. He also talks about the beating that they pretty much gave to Chuck Taylor last week. Moxley then mocks AEW. Claudio then grabs a chair as Pac and Marina Shafir hold Wheeler down. Orange Cassidy comes out to the ring, but the Blackpool Combat Club attack Orange Cassidy. Alex Reynolds and John Silver are here, but the Blackpool Combat Club attack Reynolds and Silver. Darby is here as well. Darby attacks Claudio. Top Flight is here. Top Flight attacks Blackpool Combat Club, as well as Private Party. Moving on from that, speaking of Private Party, we got an impromptu matchup for the AEW Tag Team Championships, and if Private Party loses, they are no longer a team. It is the Young Bucks versus Private Party for the AEW Tag Team Championships. I thought it was a good match. Back and forth matchup between the Young Bucks and Private Party, with the Young Bucks keeping the pace of the match. Quinn goes to hit Matt with the ring bell, but missed and hit Isaiah Cassidy. Private Party then hit a 450 on the Young Bucks for a near fall. Quinn hits a moonsault to the outside. Okada is here. Okada hits a tombstone piledriver on Quinn on the stage. Young Bucks then hit a gin and juice of their own on Private Party. Young Bucks then hit an EVP trigger for a near fall. Nick Jackson then hits a V trigger. Matt hits a one-winged angel for a near fall. Private Party, though, hit a gin and juice pin for the 3. And your winners of the match and new AEW Tag Team Champions are Private Party. Hats off to Private Party for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we have a Chris Jericho segment. Jericho is surrounded by Big Bill and Brian Keith. Jericho talks about the ladder match that he had against Mark Briscoe. He also talks about winning the Ring of Honor World Championship. He also talks about AEW being a powerhouse in professional wrestling, but he also says that he wants to take Ring of Honor to new heights. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night is Camille versus Chris Statlander. This is one of those pretty much marquee matchups that everybody was looking forward to. Camille versus Stat. Now, it was a good match. Back and forth matchup between Camille and Statlander, with Camille keeping the pace of the match, but Chris Statlander hits a tombstone piledriver maneuver on Camille, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Statlander. After the match, Monet attacks Chris Statlander, leaving her in the ring. Moving on from that, we have the camera pretty much panning backstage. Looks like the Young Bucks were leaving the arena, but all of a sudden, Brandon Cutler was left behind. Bucks said they were going to stay home and work from home, and things have changed in AEW. And the Blackpool Combat Club were backstage attacking Brandon Cutler. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. Is the main event of AEW Dynamite. It is Swerve versus Shelton Benjamin. I thought it was a great match. Back and forth matchup between Swerve and Benjamin, with Benjamin keeping the pace of the match. Swerve hits a house call as well as a 450 for a near fall. Swerve hits a Liger bomb on Shelton. Swerve hits a Swerve stomp, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Swerve. After the match, you can see Swerve in the middle of the ring with Prince Nana. MVP is on the outside of the ring. He makes a phone call. And all of a sudden, the lights go out. And all of a sudden, Bobby Lashley appears. Bobby and Swerve get face-to-face in the middle of the ring. And Lashley and MVP attack Prince Nana and Swerve Strickland. A couple of things I definitely want to talk about, man, when it pertains to AEW before I get the hell up out of here, man. Number one, this was probably the best Dynamite show we've seen in the past few weeks. Hands down. The card was really good. The storylines, the angles were really good as well, man. But there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to dissect. So let's talk about it. Number one, Jon Moxley. You see Orange Cassidy, come out to the ring in the beginning of the show. There was a video package being played from Jon Moxley and the Blackpool Combat Club beating up Chuck Taylor, which is a close friend to Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy comes out, cuts a great promo, one of the best promos that he's ever cut in his entire career. Pretty much challenging Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley comes out later on tonight. Looks like he was going to attack Wheeler Yuta. But he ends up attacking Orange Cassidy. Top Flight come out, Private Party come out to try to save Orange Cassidy. But it looks like it will happen. Jon Moxley, Orange Cassidy at Full Gear. But there's a lot of shit that happened last night. And I think the biggest thing, obviously, is Jon Moxley. Obviously, Bobby Lashley, which we'll talk about here in a second. But the other wild card of the night was the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks had a high-profile matchup against Private Party, which Private Party were successful in beating the Young Bucks and becoming the new AEW Tag Team Champions, which I'm all for. Absolutely. It was time for a change, and I felt as if the Young Bucks were kind of keeping the Tag Team division hostage, to be honest with you. The interesting part of the Young Bucks is when they were leaving the arena last night and they were trying to get interviewed by Alex Marvez, and Nick Jackson and Mac Jackson said that they're going to be working from home, this place has changed, and they wanted to change the world, and unfortunately that's not happening, and they're going to be working from home, and they drive off, leaving Brandon Cutler behind, where Cutler gets attacked backstage by Jon Moxley and the Blackpool Combat Club. So there's a lot of questions just with that alone. And a lot of people that I've talked to were highly pissed off in the aspect of what they think is going to happen, where people think that the Young Bucks are going to turn babyface again and take on Jon Moxley and the Blackpool Combat Club. My opinion is this, man. Obviously, I can understand people's discrepancies against this situation if it were to be Young Bucks taking down Jon Moxley and the Blackpool Combat Club. I get it. Because if you look back a couple months ago, we had this whole situation where, Tony Khan reinstated Jack Perry, and Jack Perry attacked Tony Khan in the middle of the ring, and then you had the Elite versus AEW, and we all saw how that played out. It was one of the worst storylines that they ever had in AEW's history, and it went absolutely nowhere. You had a Blood and Guts matchup, and you had an Anarchy in the arena match, and it went absolutely nowhere. And there was no real finish to that storyline between the Elite and Tony Khan. But what I will say is this. I think the pro in this, and I have to say this, is the fact that, the whole mission statement for Jon Moxley as of late, it seems like he's taking down AEW originals, and he wants the landscape of AEW to change. And he wants to take full responsibility in changing the entire dynamic of what AEW has been for the past 5 years. When you look at the Elite, when you look at the Young Bucks specifically, I mean, these guys started this company with Tony Khan. It was the Young Bucks, it was Omega, it was Cody Rhodes, and it was Adam Hangman Page. These guys are the original pillars of this company. Without the Young Bucks, Adam Page, Cody Rhodes, and Kenny Omega, this company never would have even came into fruition to begin with. This never even would have been a conversation. So, the past couple weeks, as, the Blackpool Combat Club has attacked Private Party, the Dark Order, Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia actually approached the Elite and says, hey, or the Young Bucks, to say, hey, this is really how you want to see your company go downhill. and crumble, and you guys are not doing anything about it. To be honest with you, my take is this when it pertains to the Young Bucks and the Blackpool Combat Club situation. Are they going to probably seek retaliation of what they did for Brandon Cutler? Probably. Do I think it's time for the Young Bucks to turn babyface? Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's anything much more to do for the Young Bucks as far as them being a heel. I really don't. Especially with the storyline that they once had with Tony Khan and it went absolutely nowhere. There's nothing else left for Matt and Nick Jackson to do at this point but to turn babyface. To be honest with you. I really don't. I mean, do I want to see them back as AEW Tag Team Champions right away? No, I don't. Because they held the Tag Team division hostage the entire time for AEW when they had those belts. And they were hardly even defending those tag team titles for a while. So to me, I think it would behoove them to, the Young Bucks to come back as babyfaces and take down or try to challenge Jon Moxley and the Blackpool Combat Club. And I know some people are probably going to say, no, we don't want that. But what other options do they have at this point? Even for a company as a whole, man. I mean, this company is still failing. Don't get it twisted. They're still failing immensely, man, with the ratings, ticket sales. This company is steadily declining, man. Like I told you guys before, it's a slow burn with this company. And they need whatever momentum they can get right now because right now, this company is stale, bro. I mean, even the Jon Moxley storyline right now, it's running its course. With, there's really not a whole lot going on with this storyline right now. You see Marina Shafir come out last night with Blackpool Combat Club carrying a briefcase. No one knows what the hell is in this briefcase. Is it a contract? Is it the AEW World Championship? Nobody knows. We haven't even seen Jon Moxley this entire time since he beat Bryan Danielson for the AEW World title, seeing Jon Moxley walk out with that title. We have not seen it. So is the title in the briefcase? I mean, a couple weeks ago, Pac was carrying the briefcase, and still no one knew what the hell was in the briefcase. So this storyline right now, it's a slow burn, and the storyline is getting stale. My prediction is the Young Bucks will come back as baby faces right around before Full Gear or at Full Gear and attack the Blackpool Combat Club for what they did to Brandon Cutler, because now they made it personal. Because now the Blackpool Combat Club attacked one of the Young Bucks' friend, being Brandon Cutler. So they're going to seek retaliation or payback for what they did to Brandon Cutler. That's almost obvious. But they need it, bro. Unfortunately, this company, I don't want it to be where, hey, you got to live in the past to make it the present. But at this point, all this company has is their past, bro, because it was the best 3 years of professional wrestling. And as time goes on, this company, they got the HBO Max deal. Hey, they're going to have possible AEW Shockwave. That shit's not going to mean anything if the ratings continuously keep being on a decline. There's no creative storylines. There's no build. There's no emotion. There's no anticipation of what's going to happen the following week because it's rinse and fucking repeat every single week. The episodic television for AEW has been slowly declining. I think, what was it, next week they're going head-to-head with NXT on AEW's time, and NXT has a big-ass show coming up out of the 2300 arena, the ECW arena, and they got a lot of, star power on that show. They got Bully Ray Dudley, or Bubba Ray Dudley, teaming up with Trick Williams, the current NXT World Champion. They got RVD in the house. I believe Francine's also going to be there. It's a big-time show for NXT next week, and they're going head-to-head with AEW. So, again, this could also be something where NXT destroys them in the ratings. And the ratings do matter. I understand people are like, oh, it's just the ratings. No, but it does matter. It's going to matter. And if you're not selling out arenas and you can't fill an arena for 2,000 seats or 3,000 seats, that's a problem. And that's where we're at with AEW. So when it pertains to this Young Bucks situation, possibly, I'm all for it, man. I know some people are like, oh, this is going to be the same shit, rinse and repeat. The Young Bucks already tried to go up against Tony Khan, and nothing ever came of it. And then we have Jon Moxley in this stable taking on, the AEW originals. But they have nothing. Jon Moxley has said nothing about Tony Khan this entire time that the storyline's been going on. He hasn't mentioned Tony Khan one time. All he said was that it's no longer their company anymore. That's it. Other than that, he spent most of his time taking down AEW originals like the Dark Order, Top Flight, Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin, the AEW originals, because he wants the company to change. So, if they can do it correctly, Young Bucks can come back as baby faces and take on Jon Moxley and the Blackpool Combat Club. I'm not against it. Because at this point, man, they need storylines to get people invested. Whether you like it or not, whether you like the story or not, it's going to get fans invested. Not everybody's going to like the story every single time it comes out. Some people are going to hate it, some people are going to love it. But the Young Bucks should be involved in this storyline with Jon Moxley and the Blackpool Combat Club, only solely for the fact that they started this damn company with Tony Khan. You can't get any more original than that. These guys were the original. They were the original 4 pillars of this company, or 5 pillars, if you will, with the Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes, Adam Page, and Kenny Omega. These guys started the whole damn company. So to have them sit around and just watch this company fumble, and these original guys getting just decimated by Moxley and Blackpool Combat Club, and they're just watching them and nothing's happening. There's time for a shift. There needs to be, the paradigm needs to shift, man, and the Young Bucks could be a part of that. And I'm not against it. I'm not. Absolutely not. I think it's something that's going to actually get fans invested. Obviously, everybody wants to hear what the Young Bucks are going to do now that Brandon Cutler was attacked by the Blackpool Combat Club and Jon Moxley. Who knows? Could we have they could also come back as heels. We don't even know how this is going to play out. But in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, it is time for them to turn babyface at this point. There's nothing else more to do. I mean, if you look at the matchup between Private Party and the Bucks, you can see the Bucks picking up the AEW Tag Team Championships and then walking over and handing those belts over to Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy. That's a babyface, deal right there. So I can see them possibly coming back as babyfaces because right now there's nothing else left more for the Young Bucks to do as being heels. It's just not working. It's ran its course. They come back with the original music. They come back as the Young Bucks, and they try to do whatever they can to save this company, or at least have some kind of retaliation for what they did against Brandon Cutler. I'm not against the storyline. Like I said, I know some people are against it because it's like rinse and repeat, but I think the interesting factor into this is what is the Young Bucks going to do? That's the anticipation. That's what everybody's waiting to see what's going to happen now that Brandon Cutler was attacked by the Blackpool Combat Club, and how are the Young Bucks going to have revenge, or if they will have revenge, for what happened to Brandon Cutler. The other thing I want to talk about, obviously, in the big elephant in the room, is Bobby Lashley. They had a really good matchup with Shelton Benjamin and Swerve last night, which, by the way, my hats go off to Shelton Benjamin, man. Shelton Benjamin has not lost a goddamn step at all. And he's a great acquisition for AEW. I mean, the guy, he can't miss, bro. He's had really good matches in AEW. He's only had a few matches, and he cannot miss. Now, credit, was I super thrilled that he lost the match last night? No. I think Swerve could have afforded to lose that match last night against Shelton, in my honest opinion. But what we got out of that match was the phone call from MVP calling Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley makes his AEW debut last night. He gets the face-to-face with Swerve, and then he ends up putting Swerve pretty much in the hurt lock and pretty much choking him out last night. So it looks like it will be Bobby Lashley versus Swerve Strickland at Full Gear, which, if that were to be the case, I'm all for it. And I know some people are, starting to get pissed off with the whole fact that a lot of former WWE talent are going over to AEW. But right now, bro, what else is left for them to do? I mean, obviously, AEW and Tony Khan's going to throw money to somebody like Bobby Lashley. I'm not sitting here saying Bobby Lashley is going to be the guy that's going to turn the page for AEW or increase the ratings or anything else like that, or be the complete turnaround for AEW. No, it's going to take a lot more than just Bobby Lashley walking through the doors of AEW. A lot more. But is it going to hurt the company? No, I think the Hurt Syndicate could be one of the most predominant stables in AEW history if they do it correctly. And MVP is still trying to scout other talent to join the Hurt Syndicate. I think a wild card name that no one's even talking about that could possibly be somebody that can join the Hurt Syndicate would be, my number one wild card pick would be Powerhouse Hobbs when he returns. And he's ready to go. You can have Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, MVP, and Powerhouse Hobbs all be a part of this Hurt Syndicate. And it matches perfectly with Powerhouse Hobbs just with the name alone and, the Book of Hobbs. It fits perfectly. So if I was MVP, yeah, I would do everything I can to absolutely try to recruit Powerhouse Hobbs into the Hurt Syndicate. Absolutely. And they will be a force to be reckoned with. Absolutely. Absolutely. So for that, yeah, I'm all for it, man. I mean, like I said, it was not a bad Dynamite last night. It was a lot better than the past couple of weeks Dynamite, which I'm happy for, because the past couple of weeks for Dynamite have been stale as all stale, bro. It's been abysmal and hard to watch. And like I told you guys, man, it's like a chore to watch AEW at this point because you can't really get invested, man. It's the same old shit every single week. I mean, I feel like Tony Khan really does not give a shit about the weekly episodic television that he puts out for AEW Dynamite. And I know some people are like, oh, well, you don't understand how hard it is to write for a show. But, bro, you have AEW Dynamite once a week. Once a week. And if it's that much of a burden on Tony Khan to write for these shows, well, it's time to hand some responsibility over to somebody else that can help you make these shows a lot better than what they are. Tony Khan has to trust somebody and have somebody come in to help him write for these shows, to make these shows separate, because Dynamite looks like Collision, and Rampage looks like Collision and vice versa. And Rampage is a dead issue, bro. Rampage needs to go. It's a 1 hour on Fridays, and it's always taped. It's never live. It was the same thing when they had AEW Dark. It does not work. The other thing I want to talk about quickly is Chris Jericho. Jericho comes in, he wins the Ring of Honor World Championship, and he wants to take Ring of Honor to new heights that it's never seen before. And he's telling everybody, just wait and see. With all due respect to Jericho, Jericho's an absolute legend, Hall of Famer, but nobody gives a shit about Ring of Honor, man. And I'm not the only one saying that. Ring of Honor back in the day was fantastic. You had all these, wrestlers from all these different companies and on the indies coming over and wrestling for Ring of Honor, and they put on 5-star matches. Absolutely. A lot of really great wrestlers cut their teeth working with Ring of Honor. Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega. A lot of wrestlers have wrestled for Ring of Honor who worked the Ring of Honor system to build their craft. I'm not saying anything bad about Ring of Honor, but right now, since Tony Khan has purchased the company is in the goddamn toilet. And Jericho can say whatever the hell he wants, but Ring of Honor is a dead product, man. It is. I'm sorry. It's behind a paywall. You're paying $5 or whatever to watch Ring of Honor's product, and it means nothing. There's no storylines. There's no build-up. There's no nothing. And it's so bad that we had to see Ring of Honor shit being shown on AEW television, which I absolutely hate, because all Tony Khan's trying to do is make Ring of Honor relevant again when he knows in the back of his mind this company is dying. It's a dead issue, bro. Ring of Honor is not what it used to be at all. And as far as I'm concerned, ever since Tony Khan had bought and purchased Ring of Honor, the company's been worse off than what it was beforehand, to be honest with you. It is. That Ring of Honor is a goddamn joke at this point. So whatever Jericho is trying to cook up and say, oh yeah, it's going to be better than it ever was before, I'll believe it when I see it, bro. Because right now Ring of Honor is a dead product. It's going nowhere fast at all. But like I said, man, AEW Dynamite last night, it was not a bad show. Obviously, we get the debut of Bobby Lashley, which has been heavily speculated ever since MVP showed up with Shelton Benjamin. We kind of knew that Bobby Lashley was going to show up because Bobby Lashley has ties to MVP as well as Shelton Benjamin. But like I said, the biggest wild card I would have to say is the Young Bucks, in my honest opinion. To me, they're one of the main vocal points of Dynamite last night because a lot of people don't know what's going to happen here with Matt and Nick Jackson. Are they going to come back as baby faces? Are they going to go up against Jon Moxley and the Blackpool Combat Club to get revenge on what they did to their friend Brandon Cutler? There's still a lot of things to be seen. But I will say this, man, in closing, that this company, I know that you always can't look back to the past. The past is the past and the future is the future. But unfortunately, I feel like this company kind of has to probably dabble back into the past to get them where they want to go. Because what they did in the past is what got them to the dance and what got them to the door and got fans invested. It was getting sold out crowds. It was getting storylines that people were getting invested in. That's what AEW needs to go back to. I'm all for a company prospering, absolutely. And I've said it multiple times that, competition breeds success. But right now, AEW is nowhere near competition to WWE right now. Nowhere near. Maybe in the first 2-3 years of AEW, absolutely. But things were a lot different then. Vince was running WWE, and Tony Khan was bringing in new talent. It was a new wrestling company that was in the States. It was on syndicated television. So obviously it was a big, big deal when AEW came into the fold. And the names they brought in, Sting, Brody Lee, Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, the Bucks. There was a lot of excitement around AEW in the first 3 years of AEW. They need to go back to that. They need to go back to the fundamentals of what brought them to the dance and made them relevant. And I'm not saying they need to, look over their shoulder and see what WWE is doing. No, you need to focus on AEW. Stop focusing on what Triple H and Shawn Michaels are doing with WWE and NXT. Focus on what got you to the dance. And focus on what got you here. You have one of the best tag team divisions in the world, if not the best tag team division in the world. And right now, you guys don't have that no longer. Penta and Phoenix want to get the hell out of there. Santana and Ortiz are split up, and Santana's, over in Impact Wrestling and working indie events. Ortiz is, sidelined right now. They need to get back to what brought them to the dance and what, made them a lot different than WWE. And that's what they need to do. They need to build storylines, build emotion, build anticipation, and get the fans invested. Because right now, the whole booking for the sickos, it's not working, man. Fans want storylines. And I've told you guys this so many times that as of late, AEW on their weekly episodic television has a lot of resemblance to WCW 2000 or, All Japan Pro Wrestling. You know what I'm saying? Which, yeah, it might be great for those fans back then or fans overseas. By all means, God bless. But it does not work in the States, man. Fans want storylines. They want emotion. They want something they can sink their teeth into that they can get invested in. So when you do have this, weekly episodic television, it always is going to leave you with that cliffhanger. Oh man, I can't wait to see next week of what's going to happen with this person or that person, or a new championship match or something like that. We're not getting that. We're not. AEW needs to go backwards to go forwards, in my honest opinion. I know that might not make a lot of sense to a lot of people, but they do, bro, at this point. Because if not, this company's going to crumble. It's going to crumble. They have to make people interested again and get invested in the product of what they're trying to put out. That's the bottom line of it. And if AEW cannot successfully do that, then this company is going to fail, bro. Yes, they signed their TV deal. They're going to be around for the next 4 years. I get that. But what happens after those 4 years if the company keeps declining? If they ain't selling out seats for tickets, or they're not selling good ticket prices, or they're not getting good ratings every week. You don't think Warner Brothers Discovery and Time Warner are not going to look at that shit? No, they're going to look at it. Absolutely. Absolutely. As far as I'm concerned, I still believe that even with this new contract, Tony Khan's, he's in the hot seat, to be honest with you, because he needs to give someone else a little bit more trust into this company and hire some writers to come in and write for these shows. I mean, he can still have the final say-so on the direction of AEW, that's fine, but you need to bring in some writers to kind of, take some shit off Tony Khan's plate to actually give these shows a little bit of life and a little bit of substance, if you will, because right now he's just throwing shit together and throwing something against the wall and hoping something sticks at this point. Besides last night. Last night's show was really good. Like I said, we get the debut of Bobby Lashley, but the main vocal point for me is, what are the Young Bucks going to do now? They lost the belts. Their best friend, Brandon Cutler, got attacked by the Blackpool Combat Club and Jon Moxley. And the only thing they told Alex Marvez when they were backstage in the parking lot, that they were going to go home, take some time off, and that they wanted to change the world, and everybody was stopping them from changing the world. That was it. You know what I mean? So, again, we're going to wait and see what happens with the Young Bucks and how they're going to, what's their rebuttal going to be with what happened to Brandon Cutler last night, with them, Cutler being attacked by the Blackpool Combat Club. But with that being said, this is my review of AEW's Dynamite. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.